Welcome to a brand new episode of DeRailed Podcast. I'm your host, Makal James Shadakal, and I'm not joined by anyone today. Occasionally I like to go off the rail and just go alone. Just do an episode by myself. You know, we've been talking about some pretty mainstream topics here on the show lately. We've been talking about Bible Man. We've been talking about Christine Weston Chandler. And it's, you know, we've sold our souls to Satan. And today we got to tone it down a bit. Go back to the little guys. I keep trying to talk about this movie and just go straight into it. Gotta let the podcast be more chill. Gotta talk about a lot of things. I'm really bad at staying on topic without someone to talk to. So I'm just going to ramble. This is going to be a ramble episode, but I am going to talk about Hammer Boys. I'll put a fucking time code in when Hammer Boys starts. I'm just going to talk about a bunch of stuff, though. Just talk about movies. That's what the show is. But Hammer Boys is the topic in mind. Hammer Boys is a indie film that's available on YouTube. It was released on YouTube, made by Austin Stevenson. He directed it, and it was also shot and edited by Dane Kevin Cook, who is becoming notorious for a couple of things. Like, he has some notoriety for filming and editing the Full Forced documentary. I think you can hear him talking throughout the video. That could be their other guy. I actually didn't recognize the voice too much. But Full Force was a documentary on the iDubbbz channel. It's pretty, you know, it got a lot of views. It got a pretty good reaction. A lot of people really loved it. A couple of people got angry at it. So a lot of fun all the way around. I liked it. I liked it a lot, actually. I think that the entire thing is put together very well. You know, you just kind of start off with it being about Fatty, and then you learn more about his friends, and you learn a little bit about Mike and the other guy who I can't remember the name of right now. But they were friends, but he's going through some shit, clearly, and their friendship is at stake, or already broken, but could be repaired. I don't know. I really enjoyed Full Force. It's a high recommendation. On my other podcast, Duckcast, I recently, me and my friend Zach do a movie recommendation every single episode. We end it with a movie recommendation where we both recommend each other a movie, we watch it, and then we talk about it on the next episode. He gave me The Hateful Eight, which I recently saw, and I fucking loved it. And I told him to watch Full Force, and then he said, oh, I already saw that. So then I said Hammer Boys, and it was just kind of funny because it's two things that Dane shot and edited, and I didn't even think about that until afterwards. But yeah, I really like what he's doing. I really like what these two are doing. I feel like it'd be weird to not address like where they started. Maybe it'd be better if I didn't, because I talk about these guys too much on this channel. They were involved with the Rich Alvarez channel. I'll make it quick. They were very easily like two of the most entertaining parts of it. They left. The Rich Alvarez channel has kind of fallen from grace. It kind of happened a while ago. I still have the utmost respect for them because they were a huge part of my life. But where Richie, I'm subscribed more out of just, you know, just because of the sentimental reason. I had like a connection to his videos as a kid. Dane and Austin are two people I follow because I'm genuinely still a fan of. They're two people who I really feel like just took things in a really interesting direction. The Mario stuff was just a fun little phase of their life, not what an entire career was built around. And, you know, Richie and Matt and Chris, they're trying something out new on that channel. I know that it's a very small channel, but like I said, we're talking about the little guys today. No big shit. And they're talking about making a film, and I support that. I hope it's good. I hope they make it, and I hope it's good. But Dane and Austin just kind of kept making stuff, and there is big gaps in between them making stuff because, you know, they're adults. The Whatever We Want channel isn't even promoted on Dane's bigger channel, Uncle Dane. So it's very, like, I don't know. I think I found it just because I was subscribed to every single fucking member of Rich Alvarez when I was a kid. So it was pretty easy to find when they did new stuff, but they do not promote that channel. That channel does not get a lot of views, but I do really love it. I love their skits, and a lot of their skits kind of revolve around just picking a line and having them say it as many times as possible, but just delivering it a little differently. Like Put Her Down is a great example of that. Put Her Down is my favorite skit they did. I'd highly recommend it. If I have a clip of me showing it to my family and them not laughing at it, I'll play that here.
I don't even think I understood it.
If not, then I made an ass of myself and I deleted it. Whoops. I fucking love that skit though, and I've shown it to so many people, and so many of them like it too. And it's like weird. It's such a weird skit. Like I don't even know. I can't even explain what's funny about it. They say "put her down" over and over again, and then it's used in a different context. Like at first, it's used in the context of we're gonna put this. You got to put this dog down. You got to put her down, son. Gotta put her down. And then because the kid's holding a gun, 2 police officers come say, put her down, and I'm pretty much ruining the entire skit. So just watch the whole skit. There's a little twist in it too, so I didn't spoil everything. And I love their other videos too. A lot of them do run off of just like are repetitive on purpose. But I again, high recommendation. And not all of them are like that. Just a ton of them are. A lot of them are just improvising as many different lines as possible. There's like this baseball skit they did. There's this math skit they did. And those are more of just, clearly improv, but saying as many lines as they can. That's how their comedy works. And it doesn't work for everyone. It works for me. It works for me a lot. And I was excited when I heard they were going to make 2 films, because even though I like that stuff they do, it's nice to see them get into like bigger projects. The first movie they released was Love Spoons, and I didn't watch it. I probably should have before recording this, but I don't know. Like I'll get to it. There's a long list of stuff I need to watch. Hammer Boys came out at the right time because I wasn't doing anything when they uploaded it. So I just turned it on and watched it right away, and I really loved it. I really genuinely loved it. And that's a bit of a bias because I like these 2 guys, and they'd have to fuck up pretty badly for me not to like something they do. So there's definitely a bias, but I do think like for an amateur film, it's very enjoyable. I feel like a lot of people would really enjoy watching it if you like amateur filmmaking. It's not a movie that takes itself too seriously. In fact, it is a horror comedy. The funny thing about that, though, is if you watch the trailer, you would not get horror comedy out of it because it just looks like a funny college movie. So from here, I'm going to say if you haven't seen Love Spoons, I seriously doubt you would be watching this. Oh, not Love Spoons, Hammer Boys. I seriously doubt you would be watching this, but if you are, definitely watch Hammer Boys first, because I think that there's something that happens at the beginning of the film that I didn't see at all. And actually, I would actually recommend watch the trailer and then watch the film, because that just makes it all the more interesting. So there's your warning. I'm going to talk about it right now. You've had plenty of time to get out of the video now. Yeah, I really, really like how the trailer advertises it as it's going to be this silly comedy about 2 guys, maybe in college, trying to throw a house party, and shenanigans are going to ensue. And then when you watch the movie that came out 2 years later, it opens with a scene of the main character who just murdered his parents and now has them in a bathtub. So the movie is about 2 things. It's about these 2 people trying to gain acceptance from their peers, finally become loved, finally throw this big party that shows how awesome they are. And it's also about them trying to hide these 2 dead bodies, and also the main character's serious mental health problems. So a lot of this movie is just kind of about this main character, this really creepy main character who, at first may just seem like kind of an awkward person and that's it, but he is very disturbing while listening to him just talk in certain scenes. Austin can be a really good actor if you pick the right role for him. And I do think a character like this is good for him. There was another movie he was in quite a few years ago, called The Clicking Noise. And I won't even necessarily blame this on him because the entire film was a mess. He was not so good in that. And this, I really bought his character. Like it felt different from Austin in skit comedy. I think Dane still kind of felt like he would normally would in just any skit, but he is more of a comic relief character. There's this great scene where no one's showing up to their party, so he sends Dane to another party that has attracted everyone. That's where everyone's at. And he's like casually talking about this other party, and it's like clearly improvised, but it's really funny. And it's, again, it's perfect for Dane. It's good to understand and know like what your actors can do, what you're capable of, what kind of character you can play. Because I think just about anyone can be a good actor if you give them the right role and if they can be comfortable in that role. I guess some people wouldn't be comfortable with acting at all, so maybe not everyone, But this was one that worked really, really well for Austin. He's very good at being awkward. He's very good at being creepy. And yeah, it worked really well. He is like a bunch of his skit characters have also been really good in the past. I think Austin's just not someone that I can buy as like the straight man. He can't be the most reasonable person in the room. I'm not saying he has to be like, I'm not saying he needs to play like a fucking psychopath in every movie, or he has to be this awkward child in every single movie. But in like The Click and Noise, he's just like this guy who's trying to save his girlfriend. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. He is a character actor. He can play some very goofy characters and he can play some very interesting characters. But he is not good at being the straight man. He is not good at being the voice of reason. There is a couple of technical issues with the film. Sometimes it looks like some of the cinematography was rushed. There's this one shot of Austin and Dane just standing in their living room, and it cuts back to that shot a couple of times throughout the film whenever they just need to talk about something. They even do it near like the end of the movie where there's this big party going on in like their house, but they're clearly just back to that one shot, but they've added a couple things to make it look like more people are in the house. And stuff like that's a little rough. That looks like it's a time management thing. There's also a few scenes where the audio is really rough. I'd say most of the time the audio is fine. It's the pool scenes specifically where it sounds like they added just a shit ton of noise reduction to the scene. I sympathize with bad audio because I have bad audio all the time and things that are a lot more simple. Audio is something that I genuinely struggle with. Dane, from his other videos, does not seem to be bad with audio, but it was clear they tried their best to clean up some of those pool scenes, and they didn't at all. There's other scenes where sometimes the audio may seem rough, like there's the party scene I mentioned before where Dane's trying to get other people to come to his party. It makes sense in that scene for it to be a little rough. It's kind of like what The Social Network did. You want a lot of noise in a party scene, so it's nothing like that. It's just the pool scenes. It's clear that they didn't want there to be as much noise as they had, and they had noise reduction. And if that was, I don't think that was something that was done on purpose, at least. If it was weird. I have no idea what purpose. It sounded like a mistake. It sounded like them trying to fix a mistake, and eventually they had to settle for that, or they couldn't release the movie. And again, I can sympathize with that. I understand maybe not being able to get all those actors back for that scene, and they're all adults now. They have time limits, and hopefully just something they make gets some attention, and they can eventually have bigger funding for this. It is funny that Dane does not promote this on his Uncle Dane channel at all. And I can respect them wanting to keep those two things separate, or just, feeling like, hey, maybe maybe our fans of the Team Fortress 2 videos aren't going to want to really watch these big hour-long films that we make. But I do feel like just a little bit of promotion could help them get a little bit of a higher budget for their because I know they're funding a new movie right now, but it's just like the only promotion I've seen for it is in the description of the Hammer Boys movie. And I feel like a lot of people could watch that movie and love that movie and not even be aware that this other thing exists. I can appreciate not wanting to throw a link all over the place and beg for money, but, make the project known. I also think that last time I checked was it Indiegogo or GoFundMe? I can't remember. I'm going to donate to it. But looking at it, they don't have a lot of information about the movie, and I think that's another thing that would encourage people to donate. Because I really want these two to keep making stuff. I absolutely loved Hammer Boys. The climax of the movie is probably the reason they made the movie. It's just like the scene where the main character finally fucking snaps after someone calls him by the wrong name after they just had this big conversation, and he pulls a hammer out and starts killing people. Hey, Hammer Boys. Meanwhile, the best friend is finally freaked out by him, probably already was, but now is actually on the run trying to get away from him. And he's just going around the party killing everyone, and all these practical effects. And I respect the hell out of this scene so much, and it is fun to watch, and it is almost more fun to watch it in its amateur presentation because it makes it more unique to this film. The practical effects look very fake. It definitely looks like they just went and did a bunch of makeup, but there's still such a charm and disturbance to this final scene. And it is, again, something they're not taking super seriously. Like, it is supposed to be funny. I think, I would even argue that maybe some of the effects look a certain way on purpose. They literally have a scene where he cuts one of the guy's dicks off and you see like the dick fall to the ground, and then later he kills someone else and you see that same fucking dick fly into the shot. Like, it's definitely a self-aware movie. It's definitely trying to be funny, up to the point where they literally include a blooper in one of the scenes. I don't think this movie would be everyone's cup of tea, but I really do hope more people check it out, because I absolutely loved it. I'm looking forward to talking about it with Zach on Duckcast, because it'll be nice having a back and forth conversation about it. It'll be nice talking about it with someone else, and I think maybe there'll be more to talk about with someone else, and I hope that he likes it, because I just think it's just such an enjoyable little short film, so fucking disturbing. That's the thing I love about it too. Even though it is really silly, even though it is very amateur, I do think it's like genuinely a disturbing thing to watch in the end. So yeah, it definitely has my recommendation. I don't really know how I would rate it, because technically if I wanted to like put it up there with other movies, like I would have to criticize some of the mistakes made in it or some of the cheapness that comes from a smaller budget. I don't think either of them are inexperienced at all, though. I don't think it comes from a lack of experience. I think it comes from budget issues mainly, and most of the problems in the movies are things I can sympathize with. Most of the problems look like they came from time management and just lack of good equipment or lack of preparation for a scene. And I'm not saying that means you can't criticize the movie. Obviously you can. And again, I know I sound like a broken record right now, but I have a bias for these guys. I'm going to defend them probably a little more than I defend other people. But like with Ralph Seppi, who made Lover, which was a film that was a lot more clean than this one, I'd say, and he was younger when he made it too, he did get a fair-sized budget to make it. I mean, I think it was $10,000, and really in the long run that isn't that much, but it is very likely more than what these guys got to make this one. This was completely a passion project. They got a lot of people in on it. I know this is such a ramble podcast, but I just really wanted to go into it and talk about it, just like different things that popped in my head from it. I really like it. There's silly shit in it, like oh my god, this is brought up in the comments so much. It's so funny though. So there's like this one scene where his neighbor comes up to him and it's like nighttime, and he's asking about something. He's asking if his dad's home, and he mentions that he's like throwing a party. He says, "Oh, if you're gonna do that, do you think you could keep it down?" This is before a party even starts. He's just saying just in the future, like when it happens for future reference, do you think you can keep it down? And then in the middle of the fucking night, he's mowing his lawn. This neighbor, this one who was asking him to please keep it down before he was even making noise, is mowing his fucking lawn at like midnight. And then Austin comes out and murders him. Like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck are you supposed to make out of that scene? That's the weirdest fucking shit. Oh, that's commented about a bunch in the comments section. I loved that. I don't know if it was supposed to be funny or not. I have no idea what the point of that was. Was it just so he could murder a second person? Was it just to show like, oh, he's really fucked up? Look, he just killed someone else. Why the fuck did that happen? What was the point of any of that? That added nothing, but I still love it because it's weird and confusing and it made me laugh. So it's just funny as hell that this guy's like making noise complaints before there's anything to complain about, and then mows his lawn at midnight. Like, everyone can hear you if you're mowing your fucking lawn, you dick. But yeah, no, I just think that was supposed to be weird. I just think, I don't fucking know. Jeez, it's one of my favorite parts of the movie. Top 10 scenes in cinematic history. So yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about it. I really enjoyed it, and I'm repeating myself so fucking much now. I have some nitpicks. Another nitpick I thought of is I don't really understand why they opened the movie and closed the movie with an aerial shot of the forest. I get that is where this film took place, and granted, yeah, there are a few people who run out into the forest at the end trying to get away from our main character. I don't know if that makes it relevant enough to make that your opening and closing shot. That's like your time to impress. And I will say, the opening shot, not as much. The closing shot is really pretty. Like, the sun's above the trees. They pan up in it with the music that they play. and Austin's beautiful words at the end. It's actually a really nice looking shot. There's no dissing of the shot there. It's professional. It looks great. I just don't really understand what the point of it was. Maybe I just didn't get it. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe I'm just fucking stupid as hell. But I feel like when you make a movie, your opening and closing shots are very important, and you need to do something interesting with them, and I don't really get what the point of I think a drone is kind of a cheap way to open a movie, I guess is what I'm saying. I mean, drone shots look nice. I would like to have aerial shots like that in films. It's a nice thing to have, especially if you're an indie filmmaker, because it's kind of this thing that, when you were younger and making films, you didn't get to do that, but now you can, and of course you want to take advantage of that. I don't even consider it a nitpick, because I just think that, do something cool. Really grab your audience's attention. I think a lot of the time, if I see a movie open with a fucking drone shot, I'm just immediately uninvested, because it just seems like a cheap way to open it, unless you actually have a interesting idea. If they actually have something interesting to show with a drone shot. I don't know, probably a weird complaint, but I just noticed that with a lot of films, especially films made by younger people or newer filmmakers. Just open it with a cool shot of trees from an aerial perspective. Yeah, that'll get them interested. Is there anything else I want to talk about? I think that wraps it up for that. I really like it. Check it out. So fucking repetitive. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about this episode, because what else have I seen? Like, I want to keep, we want to keep it to the little guys, but I did see some Quentin Tarantino movies. I've been very behind on a lot of big movies I should have watched at this point in my life. The way I justify it is by saying, I've been interested in filmmaking in my entire life. Basically, since I was 7 years old, I wanted to do this, but I was mainly someone who would watch TV shows. And I'd only watch a couple movies. I wouldn't watch movies that often, actually. I just watch TV all the time because I liked the format of television because it has an extended runtime and you can do more with the characters because of that. What I have learned over the years, another thing I justified it with was saying, like, a TV show is so much easier to get into than a movie, because a movie can be like 2 to 3 hours long. Or even an hour and a half. It's a lot of time to give up for the day. And a TV show, 22 minutes, maybe an hour, and yeah, you're done for the day. Or you can watch another one if you want, but it's more flexible. I have honestly, though, I understand that argument because I've made that argument. I've completely changed it. I now say, like, I think a movie is so much easier to get invested in because almost no show starts off good. I mean, a show can start off okay. I mean, there's some shows with really great first episodes, but for me, you have to get like invested in the show. Sometimes you won't even appreciate a first episode of a show until you watch the whole thing and then go back to that first episode. I wasn't into the first season of Breaking Bad until I had the context of the entire show, and then when I rewatched the first season of Breaking Bad, I fucking loved it. The same thing can be said about the first few episodes of Better Call Saul. It worked a lot better after knowing what was to come. And I think that it's a lot harder to get into a TV show. Now, I also think that the number of quality TV shows is significantly lower than the number of quality movies that come out a year. You get lucky with TV shows occasionally, but I guess now streaming services, it's easier to have pretty good television. But a lot of TV shows, like, they have something interesting there, but like obviously the quality of the show is a little rough because they have to film so much where a movie can keep it to like hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours. When I started this channel, I started watching more movies. About a year before I started this channel, I started like really getting into movies, and then I made this channel because I wanted to talk about those movies. So yeah, that was a big rant right there, but that was basically why I haven't seen movies like The Hateful Eight or Inglourious Basterds, the other one I was about to mention. I've only seen 4 Tarantino movies up to this point, and as someone who wants to get into filmmaking and is going to school for this shit, telling people that I saw Pulp Fiction, The Hateful Eight, and Inglourious Basterds this year at the age of 23 surprises some people. And there's some big fucking movies I still never seen before. I've never seen Back to the Future. I've never seen fucking... A lot of the movies I used to say I didn't watch, I have now officially watched, so I'm trying to think of another one. Back to the Future, I'll get to it eventually. I intentionally hold that one off now because it makes people upset. I bet you when I watch that, I'm not going to be that into it. yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling about nothing now. I just kind of wanted to keep the episode going without any content to talk about. I fucking went off on a tangent just because I wanted to justify not seeing Inglourious Bastards yet. But I finally saw it and I loved it. Hateful Eight, I think when it comes to, I saw Reservoir Dogs a few years ago, really liked it. Pulp Fiction, Hateful Eight, and Inglourious Bastards. And I've seen a lot of Kill Bill. I never sat down and watched the whole thing. I know how it ends. I don't know anything about the sequel, though. I want to watch that. I'm probably going to go see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood this week. When it comes to Tarantino's movies, I think my favorite of those four, it's either Pulp Fiction or The Hateful Eight. I liked Inglourious Bastards, but I think it's a little weaker in some areas. Still very good. And then The Hateful Eight, I just loved the entire thing. Like, some people told me it wasn't one of his better movies or it was really slow. It's slow, but I didn't feel the time at all. When I say it's slow, it's just because the entire thing is basically a dialogue movie. You're just watching these characters talk, but the shots are so good, the setting is so good, and the fucking characters are so fucking good that you fall into it so easily. You fall into their conversations and you don't feel the time at all. It's like having a good conversation with a good friend and then looking at the clock and you're like, holy shit, like 3 hours have passed. I fucking loved The Hateful Eight. What else have I seen recently? I've been watching fucking Pokemon. That's embarrassing, but true. Just because I haven't seen it in forever. And I was like, okay, you know what? My cousins were telling me, my cousins who are the same age as me, by the way, were saying, yeah, like they released on Netflix and we watched the entire thing. I'm like, okay, you know what? I haven't watched that in so many years. And that'll be such a nostalgic, like, rush for me. Because I really haven't seen those for fucking ever. I put some on and there were some episodes where I remembered certain things, but I actually forgot the entire plot. Like, I would remember, like, little details, but not what actually happened in the episode. There were very few I remembered, like, super well. And then I watched the first two Pokemon movies as well. I'm definitely gonna stop soon. I'm not gonna watch the whole fucking show. I'm gonna watch up to the point I stopped as a kid. Because I just want to enjoy the nostalgia. I think after the third movie would be when I'm done, because I think that's when I stopped watching the show. I never watched the fourth movie. I never watched it after Misty and Brock left. It's nerdy as fucking hell, but to be fair, it's been background. It's been background television. I work while I watch it. I draw shit. I edit shit. And play some Pokemon in the background. And it's enjoyable. I've been rewatching the Dark Knight trilogy. And that's really fucking good. I didn't remember how good it was. I haven't fucking seen it in forever. I can barely remember Batman Begins. I don't know if I actually ever watched the whole thing. The Dark Knight, I remember liking a lot. And The Dark Knight Rises, I remember not liking at all. And I finished Batman Begins, and I really loved it. Dark Knight, I started watching, and then I paused it because I had to fucking take care of my neighbor's dogs. And then when I got back, I was just like, I don't want to watch a movie right now. I'll finish it tomorrow. It's like halfway through. And then this morning, I noticed, hey, it's not on Netflix anymore. So that fucking sucked. So now I'm gonna steal it. Anyway, I'm going off on nothing now. I apologize for the last, 10 minutes of this episode. I'm just talking about nothing now. But that's some opinions on movies. I liked those a lot. I've basically liked everything I've been watching lately. I haven't seen a shitty movie in a while. I watched Point Blank on Netflix, and that was a piece of shit. I didn't think there'd be anything in Point Blank for me. And this is apparently the fifth remake of Point Blank. This is the Netflix original version of it. Really bad, really stupid, really cliche, nothing original. Not really good acting. Pretty boring scenes. Some cinematography where they clearly tried to do something interesting, but it just gave me a fucking headache sometimes. I'll give them props. There's a couple shots that look cool, and there was scenes where they were clearly trying to do something cool, but really bad, really uninspired, really uninteresting. Netflix did not promote it that long. It was on the front of their page for a day. I really didn't expect to like it, but I watched it because I thought, you know what, I gotta have some bad movies on my list this year that I saw. You gotta watch some shit, and I've seen some shit. I watched A Cinderella Story with Hilary Duff with my little sister a few months ago because she's nostalgic for that movie. I'm nostalgic for fucking Pokemon, and I gotta be honest, I'll fucking watch Pokemon a million times before watching another movie with her like that, because holy shit, that wasn't even fun to make fun of. That was just not good. Hilary Duff, did anyone like her for anything she did? Maybe Lizzie McGuire? I didn't watch Lizzie McGuire. I know it existed. It had like the little cartoon person too. Aside from that, from the children who watched that, did anyone like her for anything else she did? Was Hilary Duff ever a beloved actress? Wasn't she also trying to be a singer? I always thought Hilary Duff was cute. Good looking person, but find her very irritating in television. Very irritating. She was on this episode of Law and Order I watched once, which I really not a fan of that show either, but sometimes I'd put it on and whatever. Good, like kind of like Pokemon, good background noise. But she was very irritating, I remember. She is not a good actress. Yeah, sorry, Duff. I think you're shit. Probably a good person, but acting wise, I think you're shit. Fuck you, Hillary. All right. I think that's good.